What it is, it's your boy True McFadden, aka Durag True, with True Be Talking. And in this video, I gotta give my reaction to the Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. rematch. Hey yo! I said, hey, look, I told y'all, man. I told y'all what was gonna happen. I mean, it didn't happen exactly that way, right? I did call for a knockout, but that, you know, he didn't knock him out. He got a couple knockdowns in the 12th round, but he definitely won that fight. I knew Conor Benn was going to win the rematch, mainly because in that first fight, like I said, even though that score was 116-112, even though, you know, the announcers and commentators and everybody was saying how, you know, he pretty much, Chris Eubank Jr. controlled that fight, I didn't see the fight that way. I felt that fight was a lot closer than what they said it was, and what the score showed. Like I said, I felt the first fight could have even been a draw. Could have easily been a draw. I don't think anybody really just got the edge in that first one. But from what I saw in that first fight, Conor Benn was landing the better punches. He did the most damage when it came to hurting the opponent. He hurt Chris Eubank Jr. a couple more times. Then Chris, you know, was able to hurt him. And I also talked about the thing about the weight for this fight. Of course, Conor Benn going up from, I think, 147 to 160. Chris Eubank Jr. coming down from 168 to 160. Even though he had to, you know, only drop like 8 pounds, when you're a bigger guy, you know, that's going to take more of a toll on you, because, you know, you're having to dehydrate yourself, you're having to cut weight. And when you're a bigger person, that could be, you know, really detrimental. So a lot of people, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about it. They feel like, you know, the weight really did play a big difference, play a bigger difference in this fight when it came to Chris Eubank Jr. But of course, we also know, especially from just watching, you know, Bud Crawford go against Canelo, it's a lot easier for a guy to gain that weight and be able to work out with that weight and learn how to, you know, bring his skills up to the weight that he's gaining. Like I said, after they fought back in April, this is the only fight that both of them been training for. But even with that, it's a lot easier for Conor Benn to get used to adding that weight on than it is for Chris Eubank Jr. to have to cut and keep that, because he has to keep that weight off for longer. So he's making himself smaller for a longer period of time, whereas Conor Benn had all that time to just gain weight, eat, work out, and get used to having that weight and keeping his speed and his strength with that weight. So I knew the punches were going to land a little different in this one. I knew, just based off of the skill level that I saw from Conor Benn in the first one, he seemed to be a little better skilled than Chris Eubank Jr. Just my opinion when it comes to like head movement, body movement, and throwing, you know, the type of punches that they're throwing. I definitely saw a little better performance coming from Conor Benn in that first fight, and he definitely showed it in the second one. So, you know, for me, really no surprises here. I'm just really not necessarily shocked, but I definitely expected to have a knockout in this one. But of course, you know, that didn't go down, but still, Conor Benn got the unanimous victory over Chris Eubank Jr. Hopefully, you know, the UK fans are satisfied with this. Hopefully they don't do it again. Of course, talks about what's going to be next for each fighter. They're already, you know, writing off Chris Eubank Jr. I think once he's able to go back to 168 and gain, you know, have that weight on him and not having to cut the weight as much and dehydrate himself as much and all that, I think he'll be fine moving forward. As far as Conor Benn, like I said, he went up to 160 for this fight. The night of the fight, he weighed in, I think, at 167. So the question for him now is if he's gonna go back to 147, which I don't think he would, but the way that they're talking, and he's talking like that's where he's headed. He's headed back to 147. But I think he'll probably end up at either, because he looks really comfortable with the weight. You know, if you look that comfortable, you're looking that good with the weight, you're looking healthy. I think he should stay at least 160 or 154. If not at 160, if you're still looking to cut, go to 154. There's definitely a lot of good fights there. 154 to be made. But if he, if his mind is set on 147, then by all means, man, go back down there. Let's see what you're gonna do next. But yeah, that's really all I had on this one. Of course, getting ready for this weekend, man. The Ring 4. There's gonna be a huge night of fights, man. Real big fights. Of course, we got Benavidez, Yard, Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney. Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes, and Bam Bam Rodriguez against Martinez. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be talking about at least 3 of those fights. I don't know much about Bam Bam, so I'm not really gonna talk about that. Still ready to see that fight though. But the other 3, I'm gonna be giving a prediction video on and see what we come up with this Saturday, man. But it's your boy Durag True. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm out, man.